All right, we had the scrimmage today, and as you can't tell, I'm a Conan fan. First Conan movie with Arnold is actually brilliant in many, many ways. The second one, Conan Destroyer, not so brilliant, but when you're a kid, you love that stuff. And there's a scene where the bad guy's doing all kind of talking. Conan's listening to his bloviation, and he just takes his axe or a knife and he says, "Enough talk," and he just throws it and he kills the guy next to the head bad guy. And that's what scrimmages, contact, preseason games do for evaluations that we're getting, the coach is giving, whatever. The truth is hewn away blow by blow. And this scrimmage started telling us a lot of clear stuff. A lot of good stuff. Some stuff being obscured by other things, but then some negative stuff is also very clear as well. And very interesting when you really look at the situation. So I'm going to cover today's practice. I'm going to go over the good things first to stay positive. Then I'm going to talk about the Ike collapse. I had mentioned it yesterday, the nosedive, but I didn't think it would happen this quick. But boy, it's like, whoop. I mean, you could just see the mushroom cloud, I think, from what was being said over this guy. Feel bad for him in some ways. Now, there were struggles. I'm going to get into that and then dial in really, really, really tight on the O-line. Again, I really do love the O-line channel. I was studying the O-line in between my breaks in college. I watched the coaches in the O-line. Part of the reason my football career is on a missed block. So to me, the blocking is so critical. And I'm going to dial it in for you and really focus on that. And I think I'm 25 again for some reason. It must be like a midlife crisis. So I've been working out the last couple of weeks. And when I was young and in college, what I would do is I'd go lift weights and then I'd take an axe and I'd train with my axe, swing my axe in between my sets. Unbelievable way to really get yourself in shape and stuff like that. But I think I got myself sick. My immunity dropped. So last 2 days I've been under the weather. So I like to put all the tweets up to kind of show the information, so I'm not just saying stuff. I'm not really doing that today. Maybe a couple, just takes a little effort. I put all my effort into creating these graphics, though, for the O-line to really focus on that. Now, I'd like to use that also as an excuse for yesterday. I was giving a mea culpa and talking about how Alf from 3 yards per carry was going to, help straighten me out on the scrimmage. And I was like 3 yards to go or something. I screwed up the guy's name of his show. Show's awesome. Check it out. Alf, if you are paying attention, I'm sorry. I'm a yacht. First couple weeks I did this, they had to put the sign East per head over there so I could, because I'd always forget, so there's some issues with the memory thing with me. So I do apologize. So we're going to go into scrimmage, and there are tons of good things. And then we're going to hear about the offensive line, especially for me. But you have to understand, football is the most complicated, nuanced game there is. At this stage, on the macro level, there are no clear answers. On the micro level, you're starting to get them. And as these micro evaluations become concrete, then you could develop the macro. So there's a lot of stuff. The defense dominated today in many regards. And so it's very easy to say, we're doomed. The offensive line stinks. And there is concern there. And we do have to keep it on. But there's a lot of stuff that's not being factored in. There's a lot of interesting things that got to shake out. And I'll get into that. So first, I've been saying for a while, I said last year I got some heat. It's not Tua, it's Tua and Tehran. If anybody's ever played the game of football at any level, whether you've had to throw or run the football and you got no blocking, then you clearly understand how valuable the O-line is. It is, you can't do anything without it. If it's garbage, it demands higher and higher and higher levels of acumen to achieve success. And it's just not feasible for 99% of players to have success without the offensive line doing its thing. And Tehran changes the landscape. Like, I still don't think enough people understand when he's in there what this changes. So he wasn't in. He practiced yesterday. And so we have to add that context. Now, a second layer of context, as I get into this, I'm going to talk about that in a second, is that the first offense was going against the second defense. And it's very easy to say, well, man, the second defense was beating the first offense. We got problems. And yeah, you could say that sort of. But there were players on this offensive line that weren't first string. They weren't second string. And they're not even really, some of them, third string. And so when the heart of the offense isn't first string, then that evaluation of first string versus second string isn't as concrete. I don't know who was playing, who the matchups were. And so you got to keep that in account. Now, great news, Cam Smith was back. He had about 3 or 4 snaps. So it was just something little, nothing big at all, which is great news. This kid is doing something that is high end, and we need it. And it's a great story. This season, the game of football is about fun. And this guy is making it fun. He is somebody that's saying, hey, we did something exceptional at this stage. So I'm so happy that stupid slip on the concrete didn't damage this kid's career. It happened to me once. I caught a pass out of bounds, hit the track around the field on cleats, and I slipped, and man, ripped my leg open, or the skin came off. It sucked. And they got to really consider that, because you can really get hurt when you hit that sidewalk with cleats. So amen to that. Now, tight ends, you know, I got to get my studies out. I think maybe in the 2 days that there's no practicing, I can recoup in my sickness and put it forward to you about the blocking from last year, which is going to clearly tell you something. And the tight end group, and I forgot who it was said it, these tight ends are not meant to catch passes. Obviously, they can't. They're not going to. Maybe a little relief valve here. They're designed to block, but they're not really doing that. They're not even doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing. And that tight end group, when you pair it with the offensive line, that's the bulk of the blocking. And so I am really, really focused on seeing good signs from these tight ends, not in the catching, because they're never going to do it. None of them has the talent. I mean, some of them, you know, Higgins were hoping, and maybe Hill or something, but I don't really see that as being a big chunk of what we're going to do. But it's the blocking. Now, Croft had a nice block today. He, you know, some people say he's a great block. He's not. He in certain areas, he can be effective. He's never been great, but he's been effective. So I enjoyed seeing that block. Hill failed on a block. He got beat by Agba, which, you know, I mean, you got to expect that. Now, the shine level has been very, very low from the tight end. Now, Higgins was reported had a nice block. And, you know, that was like, woo, you know. But we got to remember it was against Miller, Aubrey Miller, the rookie, who's 6'2", 230. So he's going to be asked to block other kinds of guys, bigger guys. And when I see him get against those bigger guys, I'll be more happy. I'm happy for this, but keep it in context. Now, Gaskin has been very, very, very consistent. I think this guy was highly underused last year. He's better in inside zone. He doesn't have the speed to hit the perimeter, but inside zone, he's very good. I'm glad to see him doing well. I like him. I think he's a good back for us, especially where we picked him. But he's been one of the most consistent runners we've had. Now, Wilson, he run back. He got fingers messed up. They were taped, probably pulled back or whatever. Nothing too big. A-Chain was dinged. He was on the sideline. We don't know what's wrong with that. That's not good. We don't want that. We got a bunch of running backs now, a little bit dinged, and we got Mostert in the background, who's the old man. So that is something to keep your eye on. Now, Great news. We heard about Fangio being Mr. Straightforward and honest. And I love that. I just like people like that. I try to be like that. And whatever happens, no one's going to ever tell me that's wrong because I talked about that yesterday. But he said Wilkins has exceeded expectations. When a guy like Fangio, for him to say that, it is a big deal because his job is to hold it down. He doesn't want anyone to get too high. He doesn't want anyone to get too excited. But for him to say that, it is profound. And it goes into what I'm going to deal with Wilkins' contract. And I had a great conversation with the brother in the comments. That's why I love comments, so please keep them coming, to really dig into Wilkins' contract. Now, if we look at the tag, it's gone up $2 million from last year to this year. It's $20.8 million. So start with that in your brain, that just the tag level's gone up $2 million. And so to sign a guy of equal value from last year, it's going to be $2 million more. So I'm going to get into that and show you some very interesting stuff. Now, bad news. We heard Tyndale struggled last year, just couldn't process. This year, we say he's figuring it out. There was some bloviations, nice stuff, but then saying he's just not getting it. Aubrey Miller was calling over Tyndale, and that's not good. Undrafted guy coming in there and calling. It's good that somebody's doing it, but it ain't good that Tyndale is still like. And this is the biggest problem. When you get a guy that is great talent physically, and he just doesn't have that processing stuff, unless he is super, super elite physically, it really makes it difficult. And it's a big roll of the dice for that player to rise to where they need. And third round pick, Tyndall, I think I said Tyndale, but it's Tyndall. What a monkey. Tyndall it's really it's starting to get to that. I'm getting a little nervous phase, but we'll see, plenty of time. Now, X, I've been saying it. I just feel something different from X this year. It's not what we've seen for the last 2 years. It feels like from 3 years ago. And they even said today, Hill was trying to get away from it and he couldn't. X was all over him. And he actually ended up getting a pick. Couldn't shake him. Hill couldn't shake him. This is great, great news. I mean, epic news. If Howard can have like 80% of 3 years ago production, you know what that would do with the rest of the team around him and an offense? And this is why I say we have to just kind of eval as we go. Now, as I talked about, some viewers are very high on Mitchell Agunde. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's had a couple of noticeable plays on the scrimmage, a QB pressure, and a tackle for a loss against Myles Gaskin. This is good news too. The more guys we can get cheap and then back ends, and then you add in, say, a Cam Smith, you add in an A-Chain, it makes a draft class that really is going to go a long way for a team that's having cap problems. And these are great news. This is great news. Now, before I get into the offensive line, one more point I wanted to get into too, on the defense, which is also good news. I want to say thanks for all the likes, the subscribes, and the comments. You know, I hate to do the promotion thing. I feel I'm not that guy, but I got to be that guy in order to keep it going. I appreciate all you guys do. You're so kind. And it really warms my heart genuinely because I never expected to get this far. And I appreciate all you guys do with all the support for this channel. So I want to give you a shout out and a shout out to AceBread, my sponsor, because without the two of you, this show ain't going down. AceBread's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. Before I get into the offense and the offensive line and Eichenberg, I wanted to touch on one defensive part, and I kind of skipped over it. Jerome Baker, you can see I put this Omar tweet up. Jerome Baker shed the block on a tackle of Gaskin for a short game. I think this guy's going to the next level. And I'm not saying top 5 or whatever, but I think he is going to be a much better linebacker than a lot of us had thought of going into last season. And maybe some of us after last season ended. I like to see this. I think Jerome Baker with Long, if he can take that next step, is huge for us this year and going forward. Jerome Baker's a great guy. He is. He's a great, great dude. And he brings elite pass rush. When you can add in the pass blocking and the attack, stack, and shedding, which he struggled at, but last year picked up, and if he can get a little bit higher, big news for us. So let's keep watching for that. Now, I'm going to read off some things. Cedric O. Wilkins put him on the ground. Cedric O. put Wilkins on the ground for a 5-yard run. Cedric O. struggles in pass block, but he can run block. Okay? And Kendall Lamb can pass block, but he can't run block. Both these guys are long in the tooth dudes. I think both are over 30. And so it's good and it's bad because these guys are not going to correct their failings, although they do bring some assets to the good side. High snap again from Connor 2 days in a row. I don't like that. I don't think you should see one more high snap, maybe one. Or else I'm going to be a little concerned because all it takes is one or say if you get 3 high snaps in camp and then you go to a much longer season, and then you're getting 3 or 4 or 5 where it causes a problem, it could change the course of the season. And I do think this guy is an excellent center, but those snapping issues have to be tamed. And I still don't think at left guard, he's the guy I want either because he struggles with power. And that's one of the reasons why he was holding a lot. And he didn't get a lot of suitors in free agency. Now, Miami's pegged him as a center, brought him in here. And then when you bring a guy inside at center, depending on the scheme you have and the way you set up your blocks, you can offset those weaknesses to power. And this is why sometimes guys who struggle at guard because they don't have the power, they come inside and they excel. And this is where Connor is going to be his best. This is where he's going to earn his money. This is where he's going to be a guy for us for the future. So this snapping issue is critical and something to keep your eye on. I think Omar Kelly put this tweet up. I don't know if I'm going to put it up. He had to read it. My head started pounding right now. It's time for Christian Wilkins versus Isaiah Wynn. And he said, I've seen enough. Wynn is not going to be the guy for us, guys. I mean, spot duty at best. He's like 6'2", 305. Come on. He's going to come in there and he's going to get dominated. Dominated. I mean, he'll do better than Eichenberg. I'll get to that in a second. Another Omar Kelly tweet I'm going to read off. Liam Eichenberg has lost every rep I'm watching. This isn't good. He's in quicksand. This is a nosedive. He's in collapse mode. But anybody who's been watching his channel or watching actually him play, what's the difference between this year and last year? It's not a surprise. This is Liam Eichenberg. He needs to move to center. Unfortunately, he's never really played. He's got a few snaps. And this is going to create a quandary. And I'm going to get into all offensive line players, the pool, and show you some really interesting stuff as far as choices. Liam Eichenberg is, I would say, pretty much done. His confidence is shot. He's going to go in. They're going to watch the tape. He's going to remember it. It's going to make it harder and harder and harder. And I don't see him pulling up out his nosedive, which is sad. He's a nice guy. He's a good kid. We spent a lot of draft capital and time, and we sacrificed last season in many regards. We sacrificed his free agency by not bringing somebody in to challenge him. They didn't bring anybody to challenge him. They came in with a season saying he is going to be our left guard, and they brought in like nominal low-end choices to challenge him. Now he's flopped, and now, unless something comes about, whether he rises to the occasion or whatever, we're going to be caught with our pants down at left guard. But this does not mean the death sentence. And I'm going to show you. I've talked about it. So I'll get into that. Kendall Lamb, pancake Mitchell Agundier on one-on-one. He's a left tackle, no doubt. Swing man. After his rep, Teron Armstead was chuckling. Well, yeah, that's funny. Lamb is a good pass blocker. But Agundier is, he's a rookie, so that's nice. I like Teron laughing. I would love to have seen that. I'd love to see that. Raekwon Davis put Connor Williams on the ground as another tweet. That happens. But Davis is showing some really good stuff. Anthony Montalvio, you see, it's even the Italian names I can't even pronounce. Just beat Isaiah Wynn on the sack. It was bad. Swim moved him. I think there's another Omar Kelly, and was in the backfield with a snap of a finger. Isaiah Wynn's not the guy at left guard. He's just not. It's not going to work out the way some people are saying. He's your eighth guy. And that means he comes in after another guy comes in and he goes down. It's not, maybe a tackle, he'll be a little better. But inside, I don't see it. But I could be wrong, but I don't see it. So here you go. Now you don't got to look at my ugly mug for a little bit. I'm going to put this little image up, and I got a little, coding on, and I'll tell you what that is. So you see these are all our choices going into the season. Now the red boxes are our tackles, the blue boxes are our guards, and the green are our center choices. And some guys have blue and red and blue and green because they can be guard, tackle, guard, center, or guard, tackle, savvy. Now, all the triangles, green triangles, are guys that are on the roster. They're not going nowhere. These are our guys. Now, last year we kept 8 offensive linemen. Maybe we keep 9, but I think the last couple of years it's been 8. And if you go to 9, it's like one guy, but it starts pulling. It makes other areas more difficult because you need these guys. So 8 is what we want. But if you go with 8, it creates a conundrum. So Teron is definitely going to make it. And he's got a star next to him because he is awesome. I should have put 2 stars. I am sorry, Teron. Then you got Robert Hunt. He's in, and he's a star. He got some little flaws, but he is darn good. Feeney, his contract, I think it's like 3.8 if you cut him. He's in, and he's a sideways guy. I'd put him down if he had one position, but because he could play center and play guard, I'll put him as a sideways player. Then Austin Jackson, it's $4 million to cut him, and you're going with him. And he's done a little bit to say, okay, he's a sideways guy. Some people are saying he's playing good, but, the reports aren't like that glowing. I got to see, maybe, we'll see. But he's in, so that's 4. Isaiah Wynn, his contract's pretty high, and because of where Eichenberg is, because we need help at backup tackle, he can play guard and tackle. He's in, and he's a sideways guy. And then Connor Williams is certainly a star minus those snapping issues, and that's 6. So the rest of these guys who I'm going to go over, you got to take 2, okay? And right now, you got a starting left tackle, got a starting center, starting guard, right guard, and I guess starting tackle in Austin Jackson. We'll see if it's production-wise starting, but that's what we got. So you need backups, depth, and then you need a left guard. Now, Garan Christian, question mark, maybe we keep him, but I put it as a down mark maybe. Hayes, there's no way. I haven't heard anything from this guy except like the first day he was like doing well in one-on-ones. But 6'7", 305, I just don't see that. I think he was a practice squad guy. James Tunstall, 6'7", 310. He's a rookie. I don't see him starting. If it is, that's pretty, impressive. I don't see that. I'll skip over Eichenberg. I'm going to get back to him. Lester Cotton, if you remember him last year, it was a disaster. Big guy, though, 6'4", 330. So, we'll see. But I think that you're going to keep somebody else other than him. I won't ruin the surprise, but Mr. Jones said. And so I don't see him in there. Kendall Lamb, well, you might keep him, but he's a sideways guy because he's older and he's not a good run blocker and he's a limited guy, but he does create options Cedric Agumbi, Cedric O. You know what? Your passing offense, it's great that he can run block, but he's not a tackle. A couple people reported that, just like forget about that. And he, so yeah, he can run block, but you're going to be passing a lot. So I don't see that in there. Keon Smith, don't forget about that. Robert Jones, I put him sideways because it's zone stretch. Inside zone, I kind of tilt that up a little bit. To me, he's a question mark, obviously, because you can only keep 2. But I think that's, we got to go. And then Olave, Alama Olave, 6'2", 308, he's snapping at center. He ain't playing guard unless something happens. Maybe. But Feeney is going to take that spot, the backup center role. So I don't see him. So really, you're battling with Kendall Lamb, Robert Jones, and Eichenberg. And that's going to be your choices. And there's so much that goes into the decision-making of this. Do you keep 9? Now, the curious thing with Eichenberg is you can cut him and you only lose $700K. But that is going to be an ego hit for Chris Grier. It's going to have to admit that there was mistakes made last year and this year. And you're going to lose a 2nd and 3rd round draft pick because it's just going to be wasted. But he has not earned it. He is not better than Robert Jones. He's not better than Isaiah Wynn. He's a disaster until he turns it around. So do you keep 9 and sacrifice someplace else, or do you let him walk? And to me, that's going to speak to the GM and the powers that be and who has control. Last year, there was a battling going on about who should start, and then we kept Smith, and I can't remember the guy's name from last year. It was the offensive line guy because, he wasn't doing the right thing. But Smith is the guy that said, well, it was a tough decision with Eichenberg. So to me, what happens with Ike, maybe his performance picks up, but what we do here is going to say, are we about draft status or actual competition? And that's going to be interesting unless we keep 9. If we keep 9, that's kind of a massaging way where some other area we might need is going to get the stick. To me, you keep Kendall Lamb as your backup tackle, and then you keep Robert Jones as your backup guard because he can come in and fill in for Hunt because he's a big guy like that. And he can even play the left guard, although his movement skills does limit what you can kind of do in certain areas. He's not going to pull as quick. He's not going to get out as quick. He's not as nimble. So maybe you start off a win and then he's your backup. This doesn't mean we're doomed. And it does not mean, it's not a big deal. There is consistency issues that will arise depending on how we resolve these things. I could go on for a very long time showing how to offset all this as long as Tehran is playing left tackle. And of course, now if you look at the depth, Hunt and Connor in there as well. But clearly the biggest key is Tehran. So we can still achieve our goals even with a bumpy ride at left guard. There's that much talent on defense. The vertical game, we could still get off. But the consistency and the rhythm of this offense is going to be far more turbulent depending on how this plays out. So, don't poo-poo anything. Don't write a check on anything. And don't stand on the edge of the cliff on anything. Let's see how it plays out. There's lots of ways to mitigate this still through a talent standpoint and then through on the field. Let's see. But clearly, we've got a blinking light on that left guard spot. Curtis saying thanks for stopping by. Appreciate all you guys do. I really, really do. I hope you stopped and took some time today to watch Zach. It was wonderful. And I tell you, I started getting misty-eyed when you start talking about Junior. It was a great day for that, finally to be done. I thought his bust was one of the best, most accurate-looking busts that I've seen. Really good job. Awesome day for that. Anyway, guys, thanks for all you do. Catch you next time. Be well. Go Fins. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.